All right. So, welcome to this week's School session, guys, where we'll be discussing how you can optimize your LinkedIn strategy to generate quality leads as a freelancer and take your networking game to the next level. We've got Kiran Shahid with us, who has been working as a freelance content writer for 10 years now. और ये आपके साथ शेयर करेंगे वो LinkedIn strategies जिन्हें इस्तेमाल करके इन्होंने Sprout Social और HubSpot जैसी कंपनीज के साथ फ्रीलांस गिग्स लैंड किए हैं और कैसे आप इन्हीं टेक्निक्स को इस्तेमाल करके अपनी भी फ्रीलांस earning को scale कर सकते हैं. Kiran will first present some insights that she's gathered in her time using LinkedIn, and then we'll have a short Q&A to follow. And without further ado, Kiran, welcome to Sal School, and let's get the show on the road.
Thank you, Abrar. Thank you, everyone, for joining. LinkedIn ने मेरी ज़िंदगी बदल दी है. I have been freelance writing for 10 years, and I'm now working with the biggest tech companies in the world. So I'm hoping you guys get some value out of this and let it change your life the way it has changed mine. Okay, so I'll just share my screen. Okay, so in this session, I'm going to cover how you can build a LinkedIn presence that actually brings clients to you rather than you having to chase after everyone. So just a bit about me. Like Abrar mentioned, I have been a freelance content writer for 10 years. I'm 29 right now, and I started freelance writing when I was 19. And in 10 सालों में I've written all kinds of content. I've written recipes, I've written fashion blogs, I've written accounting, 10,000 word accounting ebooks in like 24 hours. So I feel like at this point I've done everything. So, and I'd been focusing on a quantity aspect for a while, in which I was basically churning out blog after blog. But then in May 2021, I became an early adopter of Jasper, which is the AI tool. And at that time, it was conversion.ai. So I saw how AI was potentially going to change the writing field. And for a year, I enjoyed it. What I did was I was outsourcing my work to local writers, and I was editing it and I was delivering it to my clients. But then in July 2022, I lost some of these clients, these low ticket clients that I was working for. So for that, I wanted to shift my strategy and I wanted to become indispensable to the clients that I was working for to make sure that I'm the only person they went to. So that's when I started focusing on LinkedIn. And at the same time, when I started focusing on LinkedIn and when I started building my personal brand, I started connecting with people who helped me build my skill as well. And so I started connecting with all of these companies, all of these industry experts. And now, literally just a year of investing time and effort into LinkedIn, I now earn over $10,000 a month. I work a 4-day work week most of the time. And it has completely changed my life. And plus, I'm also getting a lot of recognition for my work. And with freelance writing, that's something I struggled with a lot, that people didn't recognize my work. And people used to say that how much can you earn working at home? But yeah, it's been amazing. So let's get started. Okay, this is not working. So the first thing you obviously want to do is optimize your LinkedIn profile, and you will find a lot of resources on this. And I'm going to drop a link in the chat on how you can, on a blog I've written for SEMrush on how you can optimize your LinkedIn profile and add SEO as well, because the main chunk of this webinar is on how to create your personal brand on LinkedIn, and the profile is just a start. So for starters, you need a professional profile photo and cover photo, and these need to be consistent. For instance, for me, purple is my brand color. You'll see that even this presentation, it has hints of purple and light blue in it. So my LinkedIn profile has this. It's consistent. And you also want a call to action. What do you want people to do after they visit your profile? So for me, I want people to either book an intro call with me or, visit my portfolio, because that's how they see that I'm worth their time and money. So that's my call to action. And then there's the headline. So for the headline, what you need to do is be actionable about it, like the direct benefit that people will get after working with you. And again, the reason I'm skimming over all of this is because you'll find a lot of advice on LinkedIn profiles, but you won't find a lot of advice on building an entire presence, which is why I want to focus most of the time on that. But for the headline, essentially what you want to do is be action oriented. So for me, it's that I work with brands like B2B SaaS brands like Sprout Social and HubSpot to create content that converts to that draws more leads, because that's the direct benefit that my clients want to see. Apart from that, you also want your clients to give you recommendations, because that builds social proof. When people see that when companies see that other companies like theirs have had such a positive experience working with you, then it automatically builds your credibility and authority, which is why you need recommendations on your profile. And lastly, you want to add your experience, and you want to make sure when you're adding your experience, then you add your portfolio samples in for every company that you've worked for, ideally every company, or at least one portfolio sample, but describe what you basically do. So that's essentially a crash course in how you can optimize your LinkedIn profile. um, Let me just I'm going to share a link that will help you optimize your LinkedIn profile as well. But let's get to the main chunk of the presentation. This is going to be fun, I promise. So how do you actually build a network on LinkedIn? Whenever you see someone interesting on LinkedIn, your first thought is, okay, you know what, I'll just send a connection request. But there's a very strategic way to go about it, because people that have above a few thousand followers, they're getting connection requests every day. And honestly, I receive a lot of connection requests, and I don't accept 99% of them. I only accept requests that maybe I've interacted with the person before, or maybe they sent a message, but they need to be relevant to me. So how do you do that exactly? So essentially, first you want to connect with three kinds of people. There are obviously potential clients. These are the people who you're who are going to give you money, right? For me, this is content, because I write content, right? So for me, it's the content director at HubSpot, for instance, or a content specialist in HubSpot, or marketing director at HubSpot, right? So these are my potential clients. Apart from that, they're your peers. So for me especially, and I think a lot of freelancers can relate to this, because when you spend a lot of time on freelance platforms, right, your brain automatically thinks that other freelancers are your competition. So naturally that instinct comes in that you don't want to share that your resources and your value uh, with other people. But you have to ditch that mindset, because when you're starting to build your personal brand, when you're going to start networking, it is so important. You need other people with you, especially other freelancers, because let me tell you this, nobody else is going to understand your struggles except for freelancers in the same field as you. And honestly, for me, the biggest clients I've gotten till now have been through referrals, have been through other freelance writers. You build them up and they will build you up. It's the way it goes. So you want to connect with your peers, and you want to connect with other freelancers in your field, in other fields, people who can understand your struggles. Apart from that, you want to connect with industry experts. So these are people who may not necessarily pay you, or may not necessarily get you work. um, ये आपको काम directly नहीं दे सकते, but ये these people are good to connect with. um, they are respected people in your field. लोग इनकी इज्जत करते हैं, लोग इनकी बात सुनते हैं, तो it's good to connect with them. So what kind of messages can you send these people? So in the next section, I'm going to highlight some of the messages that I've sent to each of these kinds of people, so you can get some inspiration and you can see how I've personalized these messages. So first, potential clients. So these people, content managers, for instance, or if they're graphic designers, it's the UX department, it's the design department, or any other department. So these directors, these managers, they are getting a lot of, like I said, they're getting इन लोगों के पास भर भर के requests आती हैं रोज मतलब. So it's the chances of them कि ये आपकी connection request reject करें, it's very high. So I'll go over the kind of messages that I've sent to these people, and I've gotten work from these messages. So for this one, this person, they in मैंने एक post डाला था LinkedIn पे, and they commented on my post. So in this message, I'm saying hi to them, and इनका नाम लिया है, and then I am thanking them for engaging on my post. I'm thanking them for commenting on my post or liking my post. So if they comment or like or tag someone else in your post, then this is the kind of message you can send them. And yeah, apart from that, in this one, the second this connection request, I sent it somebody. So this is a message I sent to a potential client. So this is a writer who basically spoke to that potential client for me, and then the potential client gave them the green light that asked Kiran to connect with me. So in that way, because I was going through that writer, that potential client already trusted me. So in this way, my message would not have gotten lost in her inbox because I'm already mentioning someone they work with and they trust. So this is a message I sent. Okay, another one. So this message is for a client that I really wanted to work for since years. In fact, जब मुझे कुछ सीखना होता था, then I used to go on their website to learn stuff. So for me, it was a dream to write for them. So what I did was, um, इस कंपनी में कंटेंट स्पेशलिस्ट काम करती है. So and I saw her blog on my on their website. So what I did was I mentioned the name, what that blog covered. I mentioned the company's name because she works there, so I mentioned that as well. And मैंने I praised her work. मैंने उसकी तारीफ की. I said that I found it incredibly well researched. And then I even added more specific praise by saying, I loved how you ended each H3 with actionable content. So she knows that I'm not just lying, that I've gone through her blog and I've picked up something very specific about what she did. So she connected with me, and 3 months later, I got hired by this company. And this is another client that I'm writing for today. So this is back in February, and I started writing for them in September right now. So this just shows that lead nurturing, LinkedIn में relationships बनाना time लगता है. And just like in real life, you meet someone, you don't just ask them for a favor right away, right? It takes time. So LinkedIn is the same way. You are connecting with people. On freelance platforms, it was instant. Within 2 to 3 days, you knew whether you've been hired or not. It doesn't work the same way with LinkedIn, because you need to realize that you want to work for them, but they also want to work with you. So maybe they don't need anyone right now, but it's very important to stay on their mind. So for this message, what I did was, this person recently posted on LinkedIn, and I really liked the post. So what I did was I mentioned what the post was about, and then I also added another reference point, because this person, he was mentioned in someone else's newsletter, and I had recently read that. So I mentioned what he said in that newsletter. So this message is really personalized. I'm mentioning 2 points which shows that I followed this person, right? And then I end it with a question. I've mentioned how he mentioned in the newsletter that he looks for lifelong learners as writers. So I'm mentioning that as well, and I'm ending it with a question. I'm asking him for guidance. So he gave me guidance. He even made a post about me on how he liked how I approached him. And then 6 months later, I'm working with this person. So this is how you potentially connect with potential clients. Then your peers. Like I said, freelance writers, not just freelance writers, other freelancers in your field, they are your peers. and will be your biggest cheerleaders. You आप उनको आगे बढ़ाओगे, वो आपको आगे बढ़ाएंगे. People are really nice and people are really helpful, especially LinkedIn. It's a very nice community. You'd be surprised how much value people want to give you. So for the first one, I followed the same approach as that other previous message. I mentioned how I liked a recent post that they wrote, and again, I'm mentioning how I like something specific about it, and then I'm ending it with a question. You want to end with a question most of the time because you want to give people an excuse a reason to reply to you. Otherwise, they're just going to see your message, they're going to accept your connection request, right? So this way, you give them a push to reply to you. And then the second message is, if somebody just accepts your request, then thank them. It's an excuse to start a conversation. So I'm just thanking them for accepting my connection request. And this is a Pakistani freelancer as well who's doing really well in my field. So I praise them. I said that it's so nice to see somebody else who's doing well as well. And this person really helped me later on as well, and I really helped them. So again, it's an ongoing relationship. Lastly, industry experts. So these people, they might not necessarily give you money, they might not give you work, but they can give you recognition. So the first person I connected with, and I mentioned how, again, she made a post on LinkedIn, and I'm mentioning that in the message I sent her. The next one, so this is a marketing director from a very big company. If you have used Trello, she's the marketing director of Trello. And when I connected with her, I barely had any followers, I barely had any presence on LinkedIn. And then she connected with me, and I still speak to her to this day. So the way I connected with her was that I listened to a podcast in which she was a part of, and then I mentioned what she mentioned on the podcast. So it was very personalized. She knew that I knew her, which is why she accepted my connection request, and which is why she's still on my network today, and she has helped me later on as well. So we've covered how you connect with people, but building a presence on LinkedIn is not just about sending connection requests. It's about building your own brand. It's about showing that you know what you're doing, और आप expert हो अपनी field में. So there are two ways to do that. The first is commenting on other people's posts. This is the easier way out. So because especially me, I was very nervous when people said, you need to start posting on LinkedIn. मुझे बहुत टेंशन होती थी जब मैं पोस्ट करती थी, मेरे हाथ हिलते थे. So the easy way to start building your presence is by leaving comments on other people's posts. There are a few ways you can do this. अगर किसी ने कोई चीज़ पोस्ट की है, सबसे पहले तो आपने don't write one word replies or don't write AI को use नहीं करें to just repeat what they're saying. Add more to the conversation. अगर कोई उन्होंने एक चीज़ लिखी है तो एक पॉइंट पिक करें और उसके बारे में लिखें. जैसे ये सारे जो कमेंट्स हैं ना, ये मेरे अपने पोस्ट पे आए हैं. सो जो ये पहला वाला जो कमेंट है, इसमें this person has written, I love the pro tips you added to these as well. So they're praising what I have posted about. Then they've also added another tip, which is one other to add to the list, share a personal story. So they're praising what I'm doing, and they're also adding their own authority. So it's adding more value to the conversation. So and they're also praising how my LinkedIn carousel looks. So I will automatically reply to this comment and say thank you so much, and I will agree to what she's written because the tip is good. So comments like this, they automatically get a reply from the person. Then this one. So this post was about how when you write articles, then when I mention tools in my article, I want to mention them in a very organic and subtle way. So this person has commented and he's added to the conversation by saying that you shouldn't show off your product's features. You have to answer questions. And this person, like, you can see that 9 people reacted to this comment, which shows that other people also agree to his value and other people also agree with what he's saying. So again, also adding to the conversation. Then this comment. So in this post, I was talking about, अगर आप चैट जीपीटी ज़्यादा यूज़ करेंगे देन यू विल नोटिस दैट आपकी जो राइटिंग और थिंकिंग एबिलिटी है ना वो कम होती जाएगी बिकॉज यू रिलाइंग ऑन द मशीन टू मच जस्ट लाइक this person has written just like how you use a calculator, and when you start using a calculator you stop doing mental math because you already have a calculator. That's what happens by using chat gpt too much. So I wrote about this, and so this person added to the conversation about how he's feeling the same way, and because he's saying that he was feeling that he felt that his writing was getting monotonous, and so he agreed with me and he added his own experience to the conversation. So these are all different kinds of comments where you can add more value to any post. So, and most of the time, I'm telling you 90% of the time, if you are adding value to a post with the comment and not just repeating what the person is saying, or just commenting one word replies, you will get a reply from the person who's posted. Then, okay, again, we're going back to our peers. You want to celebrate other people's wins because you celebrate them and they will celebrate you. These are all comments that I've gotten on my post when I have shared any of my wins. And these are people I'm connected with. These are people who support me so much. I get their comments on so many of my posts regularly, and they're doing this because I do the same with them as well. So if somebody is celebrating something on LinkedIn, like whether any kind of win, whether it's an income win, sorry, whether it's an income win, whether it's they've gotten featured somewhere, any sort of win, any personal life win, somebody had a baby, congratulate them, celebrate them, give your well wishes. People remember you being good to them always. So you be good to them, they will be good to you. And it'll take literally what, 5 seconds of your time, but it will make someone's day. It will celebrate them. So do it. And lastly, tag other people. If you think there is someone who can, if you see a post and you think there's someone else who can benefit from it, maybe it's another freelancer, maybe it's a client you're working with, then tag them. So this comment is I this is from a post I made last January, and believe it or not, this comment is from the content marketing head at Zoom. And this she contacted a colleague of hers at Zoom, and she's mentioning how she really liked my post and she's discussing my post with this person. And you can see that this is a first connection, which means I'm connected to her now. And in fact, Zoom later on, the same person reached out to me later and asked me to apply for a full-time position at Zoom, and I had to say no because I'm a freelance writer and they weren't hiring freelance writers. But this is just an example of the kind of opportunities LinkedIn opens for you. And if you post relevant content, then you're going to attract good attention. Okay, so this is the most difficult part of building a LinkedIn presence, but this is the part that will get you the most return as well. You invest your time and effort into this, you write good posts that resonate with your target audience, you show your expertise, and I promise you, you will get return. So there are different kind of posts that you can create on LinkedIn, and I'm going to cover each of them, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to create them. We all know that ChatGPT exists and it's a good tool. So again, you can use it, and there are a lot of prompts out there that you can use for each of these post types. So the first type of post is thought leadership. So thought leadership is essentially any kind of post where you are showing your own value, where you are showing your own expertise. So for this post, I posted this in fact last week, and it performed really well. I got a lot of leads to it. But in this post, first I'm starting off with the kind of brands I write for. I'm writing Semrush, Sprout Social, and HubSpot, and anybody in the B2B SaaS industry knows that these are all very good, very big, very reputable companies. So I'm starting off by automatically building my authority in the first sentence. And then what I'm essentially doing in this post is I'm sharing my work process, because I've also featured feedback from one of my clients in which they've written that wanted to thank you for all of your great writing. Everyone here is really thrilled with your work. So I'm adding some sort of proof that my clients are happy with this, and these are the clients I'm working for. And then I'm sharing my work process, which other freelance writers or even content managers would benefit from. So in this, I've mentioned some tips like that I create a content outline at least a week before, that if I shared a data resource that people can use. I have I've mentioned that I create this document that helps me write. I'm also mentioning two tools that not a lot of people know about, but they really help me as well. So these are all like insider tips. Like someone who, like me, writes on a very regular basis for very good clients would only know this and use these tools. So it automatically builds my authority. It automatically shows that I know what I'm doing, which is why I got 184 likes on this. Also, one note, it's not just about likes, it's all about the kind of likes you're getting. It's about the kind of comments you're getting from, are you getting comments from relevant people, or are you getting like fluff replies, one word replies? So these are all 61 comments. I got 61 comments on this post, and I got 8 reposts, and I got a lot of leads on this post as well, only because I've showed my expertise and that I've showed I know what I'm doing. Another kind of post that you can put out there is a win post. So in this post, what I've done is exactly a year after I started getting active on LinkedIn, I have shared some of my statistics. So I know you might be thinking 5,000 followers is not a lot, but the reason this is such a win is because it's about the kind of this is about the kind of followers I've gotten. I've gotten followers from, again, like I've mentioned, companies like Zoom, companies like Trello. I'm working with brands like HubSpot. So I am working with some of the best tech brands in the world, which is why there's so much authority in this post. So which is why these wins are relevant. So post your wins. If you have gotten a dream client, post about that. If you've recently published something that, for me, for example, I'm a writer, if I've published something that has ranked on Google, I'm going to post that. If you've For me, I went to Toronto and I met someone at a conference who recognized me. उसने उन्होंने मुझे पहचाना कि मैं आपको लिंक्डइन पे फॉलो करती हूँ एंड आई लव योर कंटेंट सो दैट वाज अ विन फॉर मी एज वेल बिकॉज आई वाज लाइक ओके आई एम इन कैनेडा I was at a tech conference in Canada and somebody recognized me there. So that was a big win for me. So I posted about that as well. So it doesn't matter how small your win is. A win is a win, and at some level, somebody or the other will relate to you. Okay. If you're posting about your wins, then you should also post about your losses. I'll tell you why this is important. It's not just show that you have a very good life, you're earning lots of money, and everything is going good for you. But people rarely share their day-to-day struggles. And the reason why sharing these struggles, you're sharing your problems is important, is because it makes you more human. And then you also get the opportunity to connect with people who are also going through the same thing. So in this post, and this is my most well-performing post yet, because you see it has over 600 likes, it has over 100,000 impressions, over 100 comments, and I got so many leads full of it. So I'll tell you why this post works. So I posted this at a time where there were a lot of tech layoffs. This was during the summer, and a lot of companies were laying off workers. A lot of companies were stopping their contracts with freelance writers. So industry was getting bad. So what I did in this post, as you can see, that I've praised the way my client has ended up on track. So in this, my client is being transparent about how they don't have the budget, but they're being very nice about it. So I am praising them. And the reason why it did so well is because other freelance writers and freelancers could relate to it because a lot of people lost work. And content managers or people who hire freelancers got some tips on how they can lay off freelancers. So I've given them an example of an email, and I'm giving them tips like show appreciation, provide clarity on payments, and offer support. So they're both work they're targeting both audiences. And then you can see just in the last sentence, I've mentioned as a PS, I have space for one client. So if you're looking for a freelancer, feel free to get in touch. That's it. I'm not going on and on about how I've lost a client and I'm out of work. It's a very subtle way of saying that I'm open for work. And because this post got so much attention already because of how I phrased it and how I praised my client and how positive it was, I got so many leads because other potential clients also saw that if they were, due to any reason end their contract with me, then I'm not going to shame them. So it's a very positive spin on an unfortunate situation because budget cuts have been real. This is the year of recession, so especially in the tech space. So again, a positive spin on an unfortunate issue. This again, so these work sample posts aren't ones that get me the most likes, but again, they get me leads because you are actively showing your work. So my rule is always when you're showcasing your work, you need to add some sort of extra tip with it. So for me, what I'm doing in this is I've mentioned my post, I've added a link to it, I've mentioned my client as well, which is WeFlow. And but what I've done is basically I've added some tips on how I created such a detailed post. So again, this is doing two things. So by posting this, other freelance writers are getting some tips on how they can create a post like this. Second, potential clients are seeing the kind of research I put into my work. And because I've posted my article in the links and I've tagged some other people as well, so potential clients are seeing how much credibility my work has. So even though I'm not saying that, oh my god, this is such a well researched article, this is one of my best yet and something like that, i've I've actually given them a sneak peek at my research process. And I've ended with a call to action saying that if you'd like to create, if you want content like this, let's chat. That's all. Not too many likes, 70 likes, but again, it's not about likes. It's about how many people get into your inbox and how many relevant people are connecting with you. Lastly, rants. So rant posts, the so rants are funny. They are not going to get you leads, but they are going to get you attention. And when you're building your personal brand, you need both. You want posts that build your authority, and then you want posts that build your followers as well, because it's a cycle. If you have more followers, then the potential for potential clients to see you increases as well. But again, if you're not posting valuable content, then your potential clients won't take you seriously. So rant posts are one of those funny posts where I saw this somebody posted this 15-year-old kids are making $10,000 per month using AI. If it were that easy for anyone to earn $10,000, I don't think we would have been enrolling in all of these webinars, enrolling in all of these courses if it were that easy. And if ChatGPT really was the game changing tool, and if it made everybody millionaires, then the world would have been in a much better place, I think. So I posted this, and you see it's gotten now, I mean, it right now in the when I took the screenshot, it had over 50 comments, but now it has so many comments and so many likes on it. But I'm literally calling this person out. I'm like, this is not true, and you need to stop fooling people. But so again, it's not getting me any leads, but other people, especially people in my field who know how much work it takes to write a well written researched article, they can see that they relate to this, because they relate to my rant, because even they're sick of seeing such posts and posts that devalue their work. So which is why this works. And then lastly, personal posts. So for me, I don't get too personal on social media. I am someone who I haven't even posted on Instagram since 2014. It's been 9 years since I posted on Instagram, and even on LinkedIn, I don't post any selfies. I don't post about my personal life too much, but it works for people. People are good with it. It's something I personally am not comfortable with, but it works for other people. So if you're comfortable with it, then by all means. So this is the most personal post I've written, because this is a mixture of professional and personal wins, because in this I'm writing that I flew multiple times in this month, and I welcomed a baby nephew, and I gave my Canadian citizenship test. So these are all personal wins. So, and I've also in the end मैंने लिखा है, my sanity has been hanging by a thread, which means मैं पागल हो गई हूँ इतना काम करके. But again, I'm being grateful because I have work that fills up my pipeline and that I don't have to chase after work. So it's a relatable post for people because people also struggle with the same juggling too much work. I think a lot of us, especially as freelancers, we've been through a point where we're taking on too much work, but we also don't want to say no to work, right? So it clicked with a lot of people. People gave me a lot of well wishes, and they congratulated me on my nephew. So again, it was a very positive post, and it showed a glimpse of my personal life on LinkedIn, which I don't do a lot. So we've covered what kind of content you can create. But the main problem I've realized with content creation is what to write. I mean, that's the biggest struggle that I always have when I sit down and batch create content. That what do I write about? How do I build thought leadership? How do I build my value? So there are two tools that I swear by. They're both tools by the same creator, but they're both really helpful. So this tool is called Taplio. I use this for my social media content as well as the content I write for clients. So what Taplio basically does is, if you enter a keyword onto it, for instance, because I'm in content marketing, right? So I would write about content strategy and topics related to that. So I wrote this keyword, content strategy, on it. So it gave me the best performing tweets, LinkedIn posts. So this gives me an idea on what people are posting about. It gives me an idea on how to write content, stuff like that. One note: never copy a post. And I'm telling you, some way or the other, if you do copy someone else's post, they are going to find out. It has happened with me so much. Somebody who was in my network, who I've interacted with before, they copied my post, and I didn't say anything to them. I didn't get into their DMs and say that, hey, why are you copying my post? But other people noticed, and other people in my field, other freelance writer and other clients pointed it out to me and sent me a message saying, this guy is copying your post, and this person is someone who writes for big brands as well. So somewhere or the other, people will notice and people will find out. And best case scenario is they don't say anything to you. Worst case scenario is they actually post about you on LinkedIn. So don't do it. You can always take ideas. You can use these posts as inspiration. You can see the sentence structure, the content, what kind of stuff they're writing, but never copy. So this is Taplio for LinkedIn. So Tweet Hunter is a tool by the same creator, and I'll tell you why I've mentioned both of them. So again, you write a keyword and it'll give you tweets, well performing tweets on the same topic. So the reason I've entered Tweet Hunter here, even though this is for LinkedIn, is because Tweet Hunter is very good at generating hooks. So Twitter's posts, if you've noticed, are very short and very to the point. And hooks in LinkedIn are basically, sorry, the first few sentences of your LinkedIn post. They are your hooks. Because when you go on LinkedIn, if the post is long, you will get a small see more option at your bottom right. So your hook always comes before the see more. Because if a hook is engaging, people will want to click that see more button and see more of your post. So Twitter posts are very good at that. It helps you find hooks. So again, lots of ideas for LinkedIn content. These tools are great. There are multiple settings which help you adjust it basically has filters on how many likes a post should have to display here, how many what kind of people they need to be, what industry they need to be in, how old the post needs to be. So there are multiple filters that you can choose. Some other idea generation tips, and these are also really important because when you if you want to become a high ticket freelancer who works with the best brands in the world, you want to show your expertise, right? And you want to build your own knowledge. So these are some ways that you can build your knowledge. Podcasts for me are my favorite way on how to build expertise, because a lot of my potential clients are on podcasts. So I can, like I showed you in some of the messages, I can always mention something they said on the podcast in my message, so that automatically grabs their attention. And for me, podcasts, what I also do is I always transcribe the podcasts, so that makes them easy to read for me, and that makes them, and then I can take notes. Otherwise, if you're good at listening to podcasts and webinars, if you're a good listener, for me, I'm better. Again, I retain information when I read something rather than listen to something. So which is why I prefer transcribing them. Other Apart from that, talk to people. There are, like I said, nobody will understand your struggles more than other freelancers or people in your field, right? Talk to these people. Talk to them about trending topics. For instance, for me, AI this year has been such an ongoing topic. It's because I'm a writer, right? So obviously, writers are worried about it. I want to talk to other content managers on how they're using AI. So there have been a lot of conversations regarding that. So this automatically builds your knowledge. It gives you ideas. I've posted about a lot of these conversations on my LinkedIn as well. So again, these are all, and of course, read books. The more reading books helps you improve your writing, improve how you create sentences. I mean, ChatGPT and everything, they're great tools. They're excellent, especially for fields like coding and everything, where your writing skills are not as important. But you want to work with high ticket clients, right? You want to work with international clients. It's also important to improve your conversational skills, improve how you communicate. And even if ChatGPT gives you an output, unless and until you don't know how to recognize good writing, you won't know whether ChatGPT is giving you good output. Which is why I think we are at a point in our life, because digital communication has become so important, and personal branding has become so important. I think everybody needs to learn how to write now and know how to communicate well, because even something as simple as an Upwork proposal or an email to a potential client or an ongoing conversation with a client, everything requires digital communication and everything requires writing. So you need to know how to do these things. So how do you improve your writing skills? I'm going to just share a few resources. Content editing tools. Pro Writing Aid is basically a Grammarly competitor. The reason I've mentioned Pro Writing Aid over Grammarly here is because Grammarly, in the writing field, we've noticed that Grammarly's output is not that good anymore. It's missing errors, and that Pro Writing Aid is much better. I've used both of these tools, and I right now I have a subscription to Grammarly, which I will be stopping and switching to Pro Writing Aid, which is why I'm recommending it to you. But it's good. It helps you edit your post. It helps you edit your comments. Edit your emails, because most of these tools, Grammarly and Pro Writing Aid, both have Chrome extensions as well. So every time before you post on LinkedIn, you can always edit your post, edit your comments, check them before posting. Another Chrome extension, as well as separate tool that I love because I'm a writer, is WordTune. So WordTune is a line by line editor. So what it does is, if for instance, if you have a sentence and you think it doesn't sound very right, so what you can essentially do, WordTune can rephrase it for you. You can choose a tone of voice, whether you want it to be a little bit more casual, whether you want it to be more business friendly, but you can choose that. So WordTune is also good. I do think it has a free version available, but I'm not too sure because I have the paid one. It used to have a free version, and I think you get a limited number of paraphrasing in every day, but WordTune is also a very good tool. Lastly, ChatGPT is a good tool, and I use it on a daily basis as well. It is there, and with any tool, if it's good, you should use it. So what I also do with ChatGPT a lot of times is I basically use ChatGPT as an assistant, right, as my second brain. The secondary brain, though not even a second brain, but a secondary brain. So what I do is I'll copy paste my social posts or even the content I write for my clients, and I will ask it to identify areas of improvement, that give me like specific feedback on the tone. What can I add here? Am I doing this right? Or so ChatGPT gives you very good feedback, and it's definitely a good starting point. Eventually you will get to a point where you'll be creating content yourself or take more of a lead in content creation. But when you're starting out, ChatGPT is good. Another way to get better at your writing and creating better content is simply to ask for feedback. So you obviously want to do this with people who you're already connected with and who you already know on a certain level. So this is someone I connected with in September 2022, and they wanted to hire me. They wanted to work with me, but they weren't hiring at the moment. So in the meanwhile, what I did was when I worked on this article, I asked them for feedback because they wanted to work with me. I knew they were a potential client. So I was like, and I was at a point where I really wanted to improve my writing, but I didn't know how to. So I asked them to critique my work. So even though I'm asking them to critique my article, this is something you can do with social posts as well. If you are part of communities with other freelancers, or not just freelancers, if for me I'm part of a writers community or a content marketers community, and there are a few people that I know, then there are Slack communities, there are a lot. So if I know them, I'm going to send them my social post and before I publish, and I'm going to ask them if they're helping you, and you can also provide them with feedback whenever they need help. So again, you want to grow together. If you grow together, it's amazing, honestly. You build a network, a lifelong network of your own personal cheerleaders that might not help you tomorrow, but they might just help you 2 years down the line. So ask for feedback and help build each other up. Okay, so this is a YouTube channel. Actually, it's for content writers as well. So in this, so Tommy Walker is a very reputed person in content marketing. So even though and his YouTube channel, what he does is basically he edits blogs live with another expert in the field. So in this, they're editing, they're explaining why they're cutting out stuff, why they're changing something. So it's a very good way to think about editing content. And trust me, editing will become even more important now after ChatGPT, because everybody has the same output, but not everybody has the same thinking, right? So when you edit your work like this, it really shows your critical thinking. So even though this is for mainly for long blogs and long form content, it's still a good way to understand how people in the how experts are thinking, why they might like something, why they might not. And this is it's very good for it's an amazing resource for freelancers, especially who want to again grow their presence, and freelance writers who want to grow their skill as well. Okay, first, before questions, I do want to end on a note saying that you will it's natural to focus on likes and impressions when you're starting out. You want to connect with the right people who are eventually getting you work. So you want the right people to contribute this value to your post and genuinely engage with you. So instead of just attracting followers and growing your numbers, focus on building a community. And these are people who take active steps to support you. You support them and they will support you, I promise. So when it comes to your LinkedIn content strategy, balance it. For instance, rant posts like I showed you are great for likes and everything, but they're not going to give you leads all the time. So you want both kinds of posts. You want posts that attract leads, you want posts that attract followers. And when you balance everything, when you create a content strategy that's for engagement as well as monetary returns, then you build a successful strategy. So that's all for me now.
All right. Firstly, thank you so much, Kiran, for sharing all those insights with us. I think, as someone who's been on LinkedIn for a while now, but doesn't really use it actively, I think this gave me a little bit of motivation to get out there and start doing a little bit more on the platform as well. Um, and I think one of the main things that you covered that I actually want to recount now is if someone is dropping in a little bit late is that Not everything is a formula. There's a lot of relatability, being authentic, being human that goes into it. There's also someone is going to discover their secret sauce in a very different way to how maybe you have or someone else has. But it's always about just putting together those pieces or thoda thoda karke share karte rehna about your professional journey, about your wins, about your losses, about things that are happening in your professional life, things that you're learning. Um, so I think all of those are really, really good insights, and I'm sure anyone that's been learning about LinkedIn or wants to learn more about how to engage on LinkedIn would have taken a lot from this session. I think just before we move to any questions from the chat, there's one thing that I wanted to ask you actually, because um, there's this thing now where all these content creators, all these people who are content gurus, quote unquote, उनका ये होता है कि well रोज एक piece of content, रोज दो pieces of content, हर हफ्ते 50 pieces of content, right? Like you need to do this to like rank in the algorithm. You just have to be consistent and just be consistent and you'll get results. Just keep doing it. So I think my question is, how do you balance creating engaging content on LinkedIn with the need for consistency and frequent posting? क्योंकि हर वक्त नहीं होता हर किसी के पास कुछ post करने के लिए, right? Like, I mean, I might not have something to post today or for the next week or for the next month even maybe. So how do you balance that, and how important really is that consistency, as you would call it, especially when it comes to lead generation?
So honestly, I've never posted more than 4 times a week. My number right now is 3 times a week, and I can't post 7 times a week. I taken off from LinkedIn on the weekends, and I think it works for people. I don't want to do it. I don't want to be active on LinkedIn or in the weekend. So what I would suggest is always creating a content bank. I used to do this before, where I used to create content every day, because my clients are online around like 6 p.m., 7 p.m. our time, right, in Pakistan time, right? So you want to connect with them early in the morning their time, because I have North American clients. But so what I used to do is I always used to create a post an hour before I used to post it, and that's a horrible idea. It's always better to create a content bank. So whether it's during the week or whether it's on the weekend, take an hour or two, go through podcasts, go through Tap Your Tweet Hunter, and start generating ideas. And once you have ideas, start creating posts. So what you at least need to have is all of your posts for the next week, right? For example, if you're going on holiday, then if you're going on holiday for 2 weeks, then before the holiday, create your batch of posts before that. Whether that's 6 posts or 14 posts, that is up to you. But batch create content, because I realized that once I get in that idea generation and content creation flow, I am much more productive than dividing that productivity over 5 or 6 days. So do what's good for you, but I think 3 or 4 posts is a good number to start building your presence, because then it is regular, but it's not too regular that it's taking away your time on the weekends. I think that's a good number to start with. If you feel like doing it 7 days of the week, go for it. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't want to.
No, yeah, I completely relate. And I think the stuff that you've talked about, right, like creating a bank, it's very similar to how any marketer or social media marketer would be aware of a content calendar. So, think of it as your
Yeah.
own personal आपका content calendar है कि भाई जब even in moments where you might not have stuff to talk about, you still have something in the back, that you can pull out, even if you're, for someone that really wants to stay consistent. I mean, I am not one of those
Yeah.
people, much like you, but if you are one of those people. So Shafak had a question, and she's asking how, about posting content that crosses different niches. So she's saying, for example, someone writes about their field, their experiences, positive thoughts, motivation, etc. I think this is similar to what you were talking about in terms of talking about your wins, talking about your losses, talking about your skill set, but also more broadly, if you're, someone who has ideas on content writing, but also you have ideas on coding, is it a good idea to mix and match niches?
So honestly, in my experience, I think you attract high ticket clients when you niche down, when you grab a niche. For instance, I don't know. For me, I don't think I can be a content writer and a good coder at the same time. And even if I am, then I only want to target one specific kind of client on LinkedIn, because I think that sends mixed signals. Because I think the natural reaction is that jack of all trades, master of none. We've heard that phrase all our lives, right? So I think it sort of sends mixed signals to potential clients, saying that you can't be an expert at everything, which is why even now, when I started attracting high ticket clients, what I had done is I stopped focusing. I used to write all kinds of content. I used to write email copy and sales pages. I stopped writing all of that and started focusing on research driven content like blogs, case studies, and research reports. That's all. And that's when I niched down. When I started specializing in that, that's when I started attracting clients like that. So I do think it's important to niche down. Of course, you can post about your motivations, positive thoughts, experiences, but I do think all of these need to relate to one niche. And generally, I think as a freelancer, I think it's you can obviously change your niche later. It's not set in stone, but I think your content strategy, it needs to be focused. Otherwise, you're targeting. You know how they say you have to have a target audience. You need to have your target audience in mind. You can't have multiple target audiences and targeting them with the same channel and same language.
Yeah, yeah. I think that makes complete sense actually, and there's a reason why being a specialist is more valuable than being a generalist at essentially anything, right? So Asad has a question, and well, I mean, I'm a little bit impressed at the fact that he has this this facility available to him. But he's talking about, should I generate leads for my freelance development work or delegate this task to someone more experienced? If I choose to handle it myself, then where can I learn more about lead generation? So do you think that, I guess this might be also similar to some people, they have like different people running their social accounts if they have access to someone who's better at that end of it. What are your thoughts on any of that?
I think you should not outsource lead generation because clients want to work with you. I think it's a bit unethical because I did see someone doing it and they were out on it on LinkedIn. I think it's a bit unethical because if somebody is pitching to clients on your behalf and then their clients can pick up on this, if they're talking to two different people, even if it's from one profile, they will pick up on it because somebody wrote that the second person kept repeating questions that had already answered. So I think you need to do lead generation yourself because you are presenting yourself, and you're the person who can present yourself the best, nobody else. So if you want to outsource some aspects of your work, like hire an assistant, but I do think lead generation, all of these calls, all of these initial client messages, they need to be done by you answering emails and stuff. So because especially in an earlier phase, I feel like things are so they're very shaky. You don't want to risk it. You don't want to lose a very big client or a potential client just because somebody did not answer the way you wanted them to. So because I used to outsource a lot of my work, when before I started working for these clients, these big clients, I used to work with a lot of low ticket clients. I used to focus on quantity, and it was okay. But now I refuse to outsource my writing or even a certain aspect of this because the risk is too much. I am working with the best brands in the world. I do not want to mess it up.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
same goes
no.
for lead generation. You want to attract high ticket clients. You want to attract the biggest company.
Sorry, sorry for cutting you off
Hello,
there.
are you there?
Yeah, yeah, no, we can hear you. So Asad has a follow-up comment as well to add to what he was saying earlier. He's saying that I'm a developer, which is my primary field. So I think Asad, what Kiran is saying is कि अगर आपकी primary field development है, then that's fine. लेकिन it's better कि आप lead generation के अंदर और मतलब lead को nurture करने में भी उसके अंदर आप skill develop करें with time rather than कि आप किसी और के ऊपर rely करें. Then that will probably also be very helpful for you as you move forward in your career as a developer. And because you'll always need clients, right?
Yeah. And as a developer, there's so much you can post about development in general, by the way. You don't necessarily need to write about a certain field. You can just post like development advice, what you've encountered. It's okay to not niche down, or even if you are niching down, you don't need to say that on LinkedIn. I think there's so much content you can already post about it.
Yeah, I think yes. This is I think just generally for any field as well, not just for developers, right? So you might be a sports scientist. I mean, this is the most random idea that came to my mind right now, actually. But there's so much going on in the world of sports science. You can always pick up a topic, and if you know more about it, just go deeper into that and post about that. And I'm sure people who know about the field or want to learn about the field will appreciate your expertise if it's presented in the right manner. So just be aware of what's going on in your niche, and create content that's like relatable and that is more than anything delivers value for people or humanizes you.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah, continue, please.
sorry, you got cut.
um, can you hear me
You got
still?
cut. I think I don't. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
All right, yeah, so I was just going to say, if you have anything further to add there, then please go on.
I did, but it slipped my mind, so it's okay.
Oh, well, sorry about that. I think before, or actually, I'll just ask a question of my own that I had for you. And if anyone who's viewing has any other questions, please leave your questions in the chat on YouTube. Otherwise, we'll make this the last sort of segment of this stream. And I think this is coming from a place of where मैंने खुद भी B2B sales के अंदर काम किया हुआ है थोड़ा सा. So this cold outreach thing and using LinkedIn networks to like get clients thing, I have some experience with. So this is a question that's coming more from me than anything else. Uh, so now you've connected with that ideal client that you'd like to have, and it's time to start the sales process, right? And then there's it's time to start driving that conversation in that direction. Is there a specific approach that you've taken in your career so far? I know you shared some screenshots of your conversations with people you connected with who you wanted as clients in the past. But is there a formula that you've taken to these conversations? Is there a process that nurtures a lead better than others? Or is it more of a playing it by ear situation, gut feel that you develop over time? And of course, no two leads are the same, right? So what's the process there? How do you approach these conversations?
Honestly, be human. If they're regular on LinkedIn, that is the easiest way to get in touch with them, because if they're posting content regularly, so every time they post, you comment on their posts, drop good comments, and after a while, after 3 or 4 times, you can even get into their inbox and say that I really like this post, and maybe ask a question related to it, or add your own expertise to the conversation. And but if you're asking for a coffee chat, then you need to make sure that there has some back and forth happened before you ask for a coffee chat, before you ask for a commitment, right, in terms of time or money. But if they're posting on LinkedIn, that's the easiest way. But otherwise, that's a good idea. If you see any of their work posted, then get into their inbox, say that you really liked it. For me, the easiest way is because people post, they're writers, right, they're content marketers, so their stuff is on the blog. So I just post that, hey, I really liked your recent post and everything. So just appreciate them honestly, and don't ask for something, a time or money commitment, immediately. Build a relationship first. Comment on their posts, ask them a question, because I showed a screenshot where I was asking a lead for advice on how to switch to a strategy role, right? And that was in February. Now I'm writing for them. So it takes time. I mean, because we have to remember that there are humans at the other end, right? And plus, your availability needs to match their needs. They might not be hiring right now, but they might be hiring later. So it's always important to be on top of their minds by engaging on their content. Engage if they're posting regularly, that's the easiest thing. Just comment on all of their posts and drop good comments. That is the easiest thing.
Yeah, I think I see the value to that, because also LinkedIn, even if those comments don't give you any reach specifically with that person, LinkedIn rewards activity. So if you're commenting on someone's post, then your comment will show up for pretty much everyone else that follows you if they're regular on LinkedIn. So commenting is not something that you can go wrong with unless you're doing something completely ridiculous. We do see some behaviors
Yeah.
on LinkedIn that are kind of not for a professional environment at all. Please don't do that. Be
Yeah.
professional with all of your interactions. Don't
Yeah.
comment nice pic dear anywhere. Um,
Yeah, don't do
but
that. Or hire me. I
yeah,
get so many of those.
yes,
Please hire me. Please, I'm not hiring. Why would I want to hire you? And this is don't be desperate. Don't be desperate. Be human. Be respectful and be ethical.
yes, yes. So, all right, I think Shafak's question is going to be the last one for us today. So, she had a question that is more specific for students at university. She's saying, I've yet to develop a deeper understanding in my major field, but I want to start creating a brand on LinkedIn right now. So, can you recommend a content strategy that's for an enhanced audience? I think we can tweak that question a little bit as well to apply to students more generally, people who are in university. They're not really working yet, but they want to start developing that brand so that when they get out of university or when they're able to work, they have that ready for them. Are there any things that students in particular should be doing?
So I think one of the best ways to go about this is to see other students killing it as well. And I don't mean like local freelancers, but local people. But I have seen quite a few like 19, 20-year-olds. In fact, I connected with someone who was 22. I had a coffee chat with her a day before yesterday, and she's in Portugal and she's killing it on LinkedIn. So she posts about posting on LinkedIn. She posts about creating content for LinkedIn. So I think anything, any skill you have. Again, it's difficult. It's a bit challenging to answer this question because there's no niche or audience, right? You do need to define an audience in some way or the other. I mean, you can obviously write content for other students, but that's going to be a bit that's going to be a bit different from what you want to do. But a good start would be, what are your skill sets? Are you learning anything? So start writing about that. If you're learning a new skill, talk about that, talk about your experiences. Ask for help, ask for other resources. So start with that. Because if you want to create a brand on LinkedIn, maybe talk about building a brand on LinkedIn, maybe build it live, or start with that. And because you might do have some interest, right? Everybody has some sort of professional interest. So just start with those. Even if you haven't decided what direction you want to take your career, you do have some sort of interest that you may be exploring right now. So talk about social media. But it's a very good time as university students. I've seen a lot of university, because my biggest regret is not starting early. So I think university is a very good time to start, because you get a lead on the job hunt process, and I think it opens up a lot of doors for you, honestly, even internationally.
Yeah, and I'd like to echo that sentiment because I think when I was graduating, it was a complete last minute thought कि अच्छा अब LinkedIn पे profile बना लेनी चाहिए because नौकरी चाहिए. Maybe if I'd started a little bit earlier, I would have gotten a head start on just pretty much the entire process. Because the first job that I did end up landing, it was because of LinkedIn essentially. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think with this, we're going to move towards ending today's stream. Kiran, thanks for taking the time to join us at Sala School and to share all these valuable insights that we're sure will help anyone that was a viewer today or use this afterwards to take their LinkedIn game to the next level, as we sort of talked about at the start. And before we finish, could you please mention where people can follow you or get in touch with you? I know someone in the chat was also asking about how they can get your services. So please plug yourself.
Yeah, I'll just drop my LinkedIn profile, because that is the way to get in touch with me. Yeah, I've dropped it in the
Yeah.
chat.
Yeah, so we'll share that as a comment on this video from the official Sala School YouTube channel as well. And with that, brilliant. Thanks for joining us today, everyone. Remember to subscribe to the channel so you know whenever we're ready with more such content. But for now, Allah Hafiz and keep it Sala.